Welcome to the Education Corner, a podcast by Education Choices magazine.
Education Corner podcast would like to welcome Mr. Christian Saenger, headmaster of Dumpton School in Wimborne, Dorset. We're absolutely thrilled to welcome you to our Education Corner podcast. Firstly, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and your career to date?
Of course. Well, thank you very much, Chloe. Firstly, it's a pleasure to be on the podcast today, and thank you for inviting me on to talk about things. To answer your question, I'm an accidental teacher. I never imagined I was going to be a teacher. I always loved the idea of it, and I ended up doing something called Teach First, straight out of university, which is a graduate program where you do a couple of years teaching in an inner city school. And then the idea was I would then maybe springboard and do some other exciting job. I didn't quite know what yet. But within about 5 minutes, I realised that I'd found the thing I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I just fell in love with teaching. It was very hard, teaching in quite a disadvantaged area in a difficult school, but I learned a lot and I loved working with children from the word go. And so from there, I did sort of 4 or 5 years in the state sector. I then springboarded after a year abroad in South America into a prep school, almost by accident again, and immediately fell in love with working with this age group of children. And so I became head of English at Bedford Prep School. I then became director of studies at York House School in Hertfordshire, and then became the deputy head there. And then about 4 years ago now, I got my first headship, which was here at Dumpton. And so this is into my 4th very happy year down here in Dorset.
And a lovely place to be too. What do you feel you've been able to contribute to Dumpton School in your role as headmaster?
Well, firstly, I think it's worth saying that I took over a school that had been really well run with a fantastic reputation, that was in a really strong position. And that's a lovely thing to be able to do as a new head, to come in and see a school that's running really well, a high quality of education. But I don't think any school is perfect. And there were lots of areas I hope I've been able to add some value. I think energy and enthusiasm is incredibly important in a school setting, certainly with young children, a real passion for what we do. And hopefully, I very much hope that passion and enthusiasm rubs off on everyone, really. It rubs off on the staff, I think, hopefully on the children as well as the parents. And equally, I've always been very interested in the research behind education, which is ever changing. We're constantly learning new things about how children learn best, about what we can do in schools, what works really well in schools. And I think it's easy sometimes not to pay attention to that when you're in a busy school environment and there's lots going on. But I think trying to make sure that Dumpton's really at the forefront of things educationally, that as well as embracing the tradition that we do here at Dumpton, that we're really progressive in our outlook at the same time. And I like to think I've brought a little bit more progressive, modern thinking to schooling to Dumpton since I've been here as well.
Can you tell us a little bit about the points for entry and requirements for children and families considering applying to Dumpton School?
Yes, absolutely. So we are a 2 to 13 school. So we've got this amazing range of ages that the children can join us at. So right from the word go as a 2-year-old in our nursery. And I would say the majority of children who come through Dumpton do join in the nursery at some point. But equally, children join Dumpton all the time and can join Dumpton at any point. We have plenty joining for reception, and equally a smattering who join us at some point in year 1 or year 2. And then through the prep school, which begins at year 3, that's another small entry point. Again, year 5, a few children might join us at that point. But really, in any given year, we've normally got children joining us in every single year group. It's something about the rural countryside prep schools that tends to see that happen more. And in terms of entry requirements, we're sort of proudly non-selective academically, despite having a fantastic academic reputation and great outcomes. Again, we have children of all abilities at Dumpton, and it's our job to get the best out of every single child. Our main admissions criteria really is children's ability to meet our school core values of being kind, looking after the people around them, and aiming high, being able to get stuck in, to give of their best and to try really hard. And if children are able to do that, then Dumpton's going to be a fantastic place for them to be.
Which schools do Dumpton tend to send children to at either the 11 plus or 13 plus?
Yeah, so the majority of families are looking at us to keep their children there till 13 plus and to springboard onto some independent schools in our local area. So we've got some fantastic schools around us, fantastic senior schools. Around 50% of children will end up going to Canford after Dumpton, more or less. And that's certainly the biggest school that we feed to. But equally, schools like Bryanston, Claysmore, Ballard, Embley, Milton Abbey are other destinations in our local area. We also send children off to boarding, and we've had children going to Wellington, Sherburn, Millfield. We've got children looking at Winchester and Eton at the moment. So those schools are possible as well at 13 plus. A small number of families, between 10 and 20%, will look really hard at sitting the 11 plus. We've got some excellent grammar schools in this area. And again, children are very successful if they go down that route. But as I said, the majority of children do stay for year 7 and year 8. We also have a few children joining us for year 7 and year 8, which is nice. And the majority head off to an independent senior school after us.
What would you consider to be the benefits of attending a school like Dumpton for parents? Obviously, they'll look at more than one school from the point of view of the culture and just as a general school option.
I very much hope there are lots of benefits. And of course, for different families, it can be different things about Dumpton that really appeal. I think for lots of families, certainly we do get plenty joining us from the state sector, and the small class sizes is something that really appeals. The expert teaching, the subject specialists and expertise is a really important first factor. But then I think other things begin to come into play. We have got some amazing facilities for a prep school of our size. We've got some pretty extraordinary facilities and a brand new sports hall, lovely performing arts centre, amazing outdoor learning area, loads of grounds for sport. We've got our own indoor swimming pool. And I think for lots of parents, they're pretty surprised to find a small countryside prep school with the facilities that we do. So that's a big one. But as I say to the parents all the time, actually, you can have the shiniest facilities in the world. They won't make a jot of difference to your child's experience unless the school is doing a brilliant job at the education bit. And we've got a fantastic staff team who absolutely live and breathe the school, and they create this amazing culture at the school. And I do say to parents when they come round to try not to listen to me too much talking about the school, but just to watch it, to walk around it, to feel it, to take it in. Because I think everything about schools is about how you feel when you're at that place and about how your child will feel at that place. And that feeling is what we call culture, of course. And so we work very, very hard on that. When I first came around Dumpton, I remember seeing things and noticing things and almost sort of looking over at my wife and saying, wow, this is amazing. What is this? And I knew that when I started here, I had to bottle it. What is it that creates that special feeling? And how can I maintain that and cherish that and build on that? And actually, it all sort of narrows down to a very, very simple set of values that guide everything we do at Dumpton. And we work on this really, really hard. We talk about being kind and aiming high. And those 4 words sit at the heart of everything we're trying to do as a school. And kindness and developing empathy, emotional well-being, building strong relationships, a happy, nurturing environment for the children is so, so important. But at the same time, aiming high, being really ambitious in everything that we do, realizing that children are capable of amazing things and hoping to unearth their potential in all sorts of different ways and encouraging them to unearth their own potential. And I think that is, for me personally, the thing that sets Dumpton apart from any other school I've worked in, really, is this amazing feeling in the school that wraps up all the children in it and the parents as well and takes them on this lovely positive journey through their education.
The school motto is "You can because you think you can." Can you explain the significance of this to your school's community?
Absolutely. This is something just like be kind, aim high. Sort of pretty much any child will be able to say that back to you straight away when we talk about what's important at Dumpton. They will also all be able to tell you our school motto, which is "You can because you think you can." And I think lots of schools have got traditional Latin school mottos that have been around for hundreds of years sometimes. And what I love about them, education changes, but some things never change, do they? Some of those core messages that teachers have been saying to children since schools first began are still so relevant today. And I think that's true of "You can because you think you can." And of course, it all taps into that idea of having a growth mindset and the power that having a positive mindset, a positive attitude to yourself can have on your achievement and your attainment and your success and your happiness in life. And Carol Dweck, amazing research, produced all of this fantastic scientific explanation and backing for something that I think we've always known is really, really important to children. And of course, the precious thing at Dumpton is that children are so young when they start here. They've got this amazing attitude to themselves and to life. And one of the sad things about children getting older is sometimes they lose that self-belief. They lose in themselves that confidence to have a go. They start comparing themselves to other people. They start recognizing that they're not as good at some things and that other people are better than them at this. And our message at Dumpton is always block out all of that. None of that matters. Focus on being the best version of you that you can be. And if you believe that you can do things, if you have a go at everything, if you work hard at things and practice, and when things get difficult, you have the perseverance and the resilience to keep going. If you can do those things, anything is possible in your life. And focus on doing those things and you will see that success. So I think that mindset and that approach is very much, again, a part of our culture. And you can see it as you go around the school. All the children do everything at Dumpton. They all get stuck in, whether it's singing, acting on a stage, whether it's playing sport. We have a sort of 200 children playing sport in matches today and tomorrow alone, every single child taking part. Everyone puts their hand up in lessons. Everyone's willing to speak up and have a go. I think that all comes from that motto, really, that self-belief, that belief that actually you can because you think you can, and your progress and your future is in your hands.
Dumpton School have been looking very closely at emotional intelligence. How do you feel that your research-based work, Ruler, is benefiting the children? I'm assuming they're both interlinked.
Yes, this is something that I'm very passionate about. And I think as a school community, we're very passionate about as well. And actually came on the back of the COVID pandemic when obviously, gosh, all of us went through so much then, didn't we? Such a testing time. But a couple of the trends we noticed, the impact it had had on all of us, not just the children. Firstly, the mental health, the impact it had had on lots of children and adults in terms of, again, highlighting a problem that was there already, but that we are experiencing a bit of a mental health crisis really in this country. And particularly at an age group a bit beyond Dumpton, particularly for teenagers. There's some pretty horrifying and terrifying statistics about the number of teenagers and adolescents who are struggling with their mental health and struggling to find happiness in their lives, when ultimately that's what we all want for them more than anything else. I think any parent, any teacher just wants children to be happy first and foremost. So that was a big driving factor. But at the same time, another consequence of lockdown, certainly for the younger children we found, was the lack of socialization. That lack of time spent playing, being around other people, and all of the benefits that brings to young children in terms of their social and emotional learning is such a huge part of life. And we noticed actually academically, fantastic online lessons. We did a great job keeping them going. The gaps we found were socially and emotionally. Children weren't managing themselves as well at break time and playtime. They weren't managing friendships and relationships. And of course, just like mental health is hugely important for children's futures, so is being emotionally intelligent. So is being able to understand your own emotions, read other people's emotions. It lies at the heart of building good relationships. It lies at the heart of working in a team environment, of being a leader. Almost anything you can think of that children are going to do in their futures relies on having that strong social and emotional intelligence in order to thrive in the world. And even away from work, just thinking about having a happy family one day, having great friendships in your future, things that bring us great joy, all comes down to that ability to manage your own emotions and manage other people. So for all of those reasons, we have introduced a program at Dumpton called Ruler, which was born out of research at Yale University into how we can build emotional literacy in children, and uses a range of strategies that look at, from an early age, giving children the tools to understand their own emotions, to be able to label their own emotions, to express and talk about their own emotions, which is, of course, so key in terms of having them manage their own emotions, but equally in terms of then being able to understand how other people are feeling, and really working on empathy and recognizing how other people might be feeling and the things that we can do to make that better or indeed worse. And so that Ruler approach has been embedded throughout the school. And it's just been such a wonderful thing to see the impact that it's had. Firstly, I think in just changing the culture to one where children feel they really can talk about emotions. There's that traditional old-fashioned culture of, you'll be fine, get on with it, pull yourself together, you'll be fine, don't worry about it, stop crying, come on, get back involved. And actually, that is the start and the very sort of tip of the iceberg for things that can turn for children into quite a big problem later on in their lives. If they've been told, no, don't talk about how you're feeling, we're not interested in how you're feeling, that's when children bottle things up. And that's when later in life they have difficulties. And if we have a culture where children are in an environment where we all talk about our emotions, where teachers model talking about their emotions. And that's what we all do as a staff. One of the tools of Ruler is a mood meter, and you break emotions down into 4 colours, 4 quadrants of colour. And the different quadrants mean different things. So yellow, if you're feeling yellow, it means you're really excited and positive and happy. Green is you're feeling positive, but you're quite calm and sedate and serene. Red is you're feeling really negative, but really cross and angry about things. And blue is a bit more of a negative, but a bit of a sad feeling, a bit worried about something or anxious. And for young children, they can understand that. They can understand the colour first, and then the emotions and the words come on top of that. And all the time, teachers will model to the pupils, oh, gosh, I'm feeling a bit blue today because I actually had a really difficult morning. My dogs had to go to the vets and I'm a bit worried about it. And again, children seeing that model to them by the adults, it validates their own feelings. And so that's one of the many things that Ruler involves in just creating an environment where hopefully children are learning, A, it's okay to feel emotions. Emotions are just part of life. You're always feeling an emotion. There's no good or bad emotions. There's just emotions. Some feel more pleasant, some are unpleasant, and that's all right. They'll go away again. But it's really important to recognize that. But then being able to manage your emotions and manage your relationships with children as well. And it all fits in with that sort of be kind ethos that we have. So we're noticing lots of benefits. We're noticing children who can express their emotions and express problems in a way they couldn't before. We're seeing huge benefits to conflict resolution. That classic example of 2 children who both feel they're in the right. Suddenly we're using Ruler to help them see how the other child is feeling. And again, it just completely changes the lens of the issue and allows them to empathize and reflect rather than just think about themselves. And for our older children, again, we're using them to mentor and to model that to the younger children as well. And even for some of our older children, although lots of what Ruler does really does start with the early years and the pre-prep, some of our older children, certainly those of them who have had worries or concerns, have said how amazing it is to have that validated, that it's okay to be anxious. It's fine. Lots of people feel anxious. There's nothing wrong with you. But what can we do about it to make it better? It's okay to feel low and sad. That's okay. That happens from time to time. But how can we change things so that maybe we're not feeling like that all the time? It's good to talk to people. All of those things have been really important messages.
Fantastic modelling. And then also something that's very important at Dumpton School is character education. Could you just tell us a little bit more about this and how it's being balanced with their academic work?
You can probably tell by lots of what I've talked about that we're really interested in developing the whole child. Now, Dumpton's got a fantastic academic reputation. That really matters to us. Our outcomes from the academic point of view are superb. We get lots and lots of academic scholarships. We put a lot of work into it. We've got some fantastic teaching. We really, really care about that. But at the same time, we're just as interested in all of the other things that children need to develop to succeed in life. And I often say to parents that the grades are going to open the doors for children. They're so, so important. They'll open the door to university or to be a doctor or to go and be an astronaut or whatever you want to do. You've got to have that set of grades. You've got to have that passion for learning. But once that door is open, it's everything else about our children that is going to allow them to go through that doorway, to take that opportunity, to find that success, to handle everything that comes after that. And the grades on that sheet stop mattering as much as the character qualities that our children have that will allow them to thrive. And so we constantly talk with parents, with staff, with children about the balance between the academic life of Dumpton and the character education. And of course, we want to have our cake and eat it. We want children to do brilliantly academically. We also want them to develop brilliant all-round qualities that will help them thrive. Now, character education is nothing new. Again, schools have been doing this, particularly independent schools, really well for a long, long time. Things like sport are absolutely brilliant for developing character. How much do you learn when you play sport about yourself, about winning, about losing, about being a good teammate, about making mistakes? It's brilliant. The same is true of the performing arts, of outdoor learning, of going on residential trips. All of the extracurricular activities we do. I think what we haven't been as good at doing is being as explicit about character education as we are about academic education. We're very clear when we're teaching a child maths, how we want them to progress and what they need to learn and what they need to do to be really good at maths. How clear are we with children about developing their character? How much do we get them to reflect on how they're developing their character, on areas that are real strengths and areas that they could improve? So we've introduced a framework at Dumpton called the Dumpton Way, which has got 7 areas of character that we think are really important. We call them our virtues. And the children constantly are exposed to these virtues during their daily lives, whether they're playing sport, whether in the classroom. We pick up on these virtues. Down in the pre-prep, we're developing these little characters that the children will use, using metacognition to understand, what do I need to do for this task? Do I need to be really resilient because it's going to be tricky? And they reflect again on the character attitude as well as those academic skills that they need. And so we're really excited about that. This is the first year that we brought that in. Another big element of character education is that you don't assess children in the same way that you would do academically. You don't give them grades. You don't say you're an A grade for your empathy. That doesn't really help anyone because all children are different. It's very hard to judge. You'd waste lots of time trying to do it. What's really, really useful, and again, all of the research around character education shows this, is be explicit about the way you want children to develop their character, but get them to reflect on it themselves. Get them to consider how empathetic they've been. Get them to reflect on a moment when they've really shown empathy. And that's a really good way of increasing that self-awareness and that independence that children need to be able to flourish in their lives. So yeah, it's something really exciting. We're really excited about, and there's lots more that we want to do.
Fantastic. Can you tell us a little bit about the Dumpton Diploma? It's a bespoke curriculum for year 7 and 8 that blends their traditional learning with these broader character education approaches.
Absolutely. Again, linking to some of what I've said, it's always been a frustration to me that when a child leaves a school, the thing that they sort of take away with them and the thing that they're given at the end of it that sort of reflects who they are and what they've done and what they've achieved is so relentlessly focused on the academic. It's a set of grades, it's a set of exam results. In prep schools, it's traditionally been that common entrance certificate. And of course, everything they've been doing in their time at prep school has been so much broader than that. And we were really keen that we recognised that we were really explicit about that. And especially with common entrance not being the important exam that it used to be, with so many schools not doing it, so many children not needing to do it, it's sort of fading away in its importance. And we were really keen to make sure that there wasn't a vacuum there, and that we had a really positive reflection of all that pupils had achieved. So in year 7 and year 8, the Dumpton Diploma includes 6 different domains. One of those is their academic achievements. And at Dumpton, children, some still do the common entrance, some do what we call the Dumpton certificate, which is sort of common entrance light, really. A good rigorous set of exams, a little bit trimmed down to suit our needs. But as well as that, the Dumpton Diploma includes 5 other areas that are all sort of linked to their all-round development. There's an independent project qualification that all the children do, their co-curricular participation, how they've got involved in sport and music, the performing arts, all the other things they've done. There's a leadership award. All of our children get the chance to do some leadership activities. And again, reflecting on that and learning about that. There is a trip at the beginning of year 8, which we call the Scotland Wilderness Adventure. And this is part of the Dumpton Diploma, that all the children to achieve the Dumpton Diploma have to survive. And I use the word survive quite pointedly. They have to survive this week in Scotland at this amazing adventure school on the northwest coast, which is a bit like a Bear Grylls type experience. It's a fantastically enjoyable, but also quite challenging week where they have to climb mountains, they have to camp out overnight and cook their own food over an open fire. They have to come together as a team. It's a brilliant educational experience, even though they don't ever have a lesson. They learn so much about themselves. That's part of the Dumpton Diploma, as well as the last strand is this reflection of their character education and how they've seen themselves develop as people when they've been here. And when they leave Dumpton, they've got this lovely record of their achievements that's so much broader than just their hopefully brilliant set of exam results and comments from their teachers about their learning. Paint a far better picture of that incredibly broad, incredibly varied, incredibly wholesome experience they've had here. So we're really excited about that as well. And this year 8 cohort are the first who will receive their Dumpton Diploma on speech day. And it will be a lovely sort of thing, memento for them to look through. So that's an exciting development as well.
A wonderful thing to take away. And finally, what's your vision for the future of Dumpton School going forwards?
Yeah, so we've been, ever since my first year here and coming together with the staff and putting COVID to one side, obviously, which all happened at the same time, we came together with our sort of vision for the school, the direction we wanted to go, on how we wanted to achieve our mission of helping every child fulfill their academic and personal potential. And there's 3 strands that we're really working hard on in that vision. The first is to be a school where we truly live our values and create this amazing culture, this be kind, aim high culture. And part of that is having this shared understanding between staff, pupils and parents, that when we are all on the same page, when we're all pulling in the same direction, when we're all working together, that's when schools thrive, that's when schools flourish. It's when that's not in alignment that we struggle. So we're working really hard on how we bring parents along the journey with us and how everyone works together on that. The second strand is, again, linking to the character education, this idea of flourishing character, that children are going to develop the character qualities while they're here at Dumpton that are going to help them thrive in their futures. And that includes everything like having the most amazing co-curricular programme, this brilliant sports programme. We do an hour of sport every day at Dumpton. We do 2 hours of performing arts every week. We're really committed to that. And we want to grow that. We want to grow our clubs and hobbies and activities and make sure children are developing their character as they do those things, rather than just doing them for the sake of it. And then the third strand is continuing to be the school where all children thrive academically. And I think our academic reputation is brilliant. I think what we want to do is make sure that every child, regardless of their ability, fulfills their potential academically. That's a really hard thing to achieve. It's a really aspirational thing. And I'm sure there will always be situations where we'll think, oh, that child didn't quite get there in this one, but we're going to try our hardest. And that's children of all abilities. That's having brilliant learning support that's really inclusive and gets all children thriving, to stretching our scholars and our talented pupils as well, and really taking every child individually and helping get the best out of them academically.
Well, I have to say, it sounds like a very exciting place to be, and I'm sure the children are just loving such a wholesome education. Thank you very much.
That's all right, Chloe. Thank you.